So yeah, as James said, my day job is product innovation director at Experian Consumer Services. So I've got the tricky job, I suppose. That's one of those jobs that sounds really cool until you actually try and do it. I've got the tricky job of trying to find new products, bring them to market, and get kind of mass appeal for them. And as James also said, I wrote a book, I should hasten to add, before I joined Experian, about how big companies always get innovation wrong, and my experience of that. And that was called Unthinkable, and that did touch a lot of the topics that we talked about tonight. You know, the role of innovation funding, the role of this kind of mania that exists within a lot of large organizations to be able to predict the future, even when all of the evidence points to a complete inability to do so. There's a lot of content in there, which I'm sure you'll find out when you read it. But tonight we're just going to talk about one theme that's in the book, which is this concept of mythical problems. I would go as far as to say that this is the problem which has killed, you know, 1 million startups. It is probably the single biggest cause of big companies getting things wrong when they do innovation, and it's also remarkable in the sense that it can be solved with 6 letters, which I'll get to at the end, and people very rarely actually do. So, apart from an excuse to show that picture, what do we mean by the word mythical? It's kind of that Harry Potter, kind of Tolkien kind of end of the spectrum. When we see an idea that has been dreamt up by a middle manager from Slough, and as he walks away from his already curly post-it, you can see that there is love in his eyes. He has become completely obsessed by that idea, and that's really the way a lot of these ideas take off. There's a reason, we say in the book, there's a reason why people describe them as, it's my brainchild. Because, you know, the actual act of creating ideas creates a huge attachment, which can be often very difficult to break. And problems. So problems is kind of a product management-y word that comes from the world of IT, user stories, that sort of thing. It's all about what the user is trying to do. So the user wants to print their document double-sided. That's a user problem in the kind of product management world. The problem with the word problem is that it has become so completely overused. It's always good to have a picture of kind of this. That it can now apply to just any middle-class problem. You know, like I've run out of coriander during preparing for a dinner party, or I don't feel that I'm, you know, able to prepare for my job interview. There is an ad on American TV for a product which is for you if you want to order pizza but you can't be bothered to actually pick up the phone. Right? These are the sorts of the world at which problems have now become about. Not real things, it's any human madness or desire or whim. And so that's kind of the world in which we're operating. And so it's very easy to come up, takes a minute, very easy to come up with solutions to these problems, which aren't really problems in the first place, and spend a lot of time. This is actually, if you haven't encountered it, there's a Japanese art form called chindogu, which is the art of the almost useless. You have to try and construct a product which isn't completely useless, but is so close as to be kind of almost impossible. And so the question today is kind of how do we spot these problems which don't really exist, which are mythical. Before we get to that, hands up if you've got an Apple Watch. Okay. Okay, right, so, and now I say nothing because I predicted the iPad would flop. So, I was sitting in the Experian office in Cardinal Place trying to write this presentation. I was thinking, what's going to be my #1 example of a mythical problem? And I'm not joking, in the office someone said, by the way, have you seen this new thing? And it was this, and it was just a gift from God. So, this is Safe Dome. Now, what it actually does is tries to do is to stop you losing your wallet. But in the speak of Silicon Valley, it's say hello to a secure you. Obviously, it doesn't actually do any of that, just helps you stop losing your wallet. And this is how it works. You take this device, which is credit card sized. It's got a battery on it. It's a Bluetooth low energy device. You put it in your wallet. There's this application runs on your iPhone. And should your iPhone and or your Android, I'm sure, and this card become separated by more than X number of meters, it beeps. A few more details. It costs $99 for the solution, and the card battery lasts a year, at which point you replace it. I think it's a bit like the old joke about getting a cab in Manhattan. It's actually cheaper to get mugged. So it's cheaper to actually lose your wallet on an annual basis than to sign up for this service. And the real kicker is, and I love this, they advertise this, it's waterproof. Unlike your wallet. Right, this is a real one. You can buy this on the internet today. This is the Kettle for people who want to boil their kettle dry from the comfort of another room. Doesn't actually put the water in it, just turns it on. I think there is a marginal use for this. I suspect it grows old quite quickly. I don't know. Yeah. This is the winner. This is Tidal. Right? This is for anyone who thinks that Jay-Z should have more money. The idea here is that iTunes and Apple and Tim Cook from earlier are ripping off artists by not giving them 100% of the money from records. So instead of buying your music from them, buy it from these people, because then they'll get more of the money. And it will be in a higher quality format. Okay, so I would suggest that's not going to work, but we'll see over time. How do we spot these then? Some of these are really plausible. When you first saw that kettle, you probably thought, well, it's nice looking. Maybe I do want to spend $100 on a kettle. But there's two ways to do this. This is the darling of Hoxton. This is the business model canvas. I'm sure a lot of people recognize it. Surprisingly few. So this is the idea behind this is if you're starting a company and you can't fill in this grid, then don't start your company, right? It's pretty straightforward. And it's used by a lot of people, and it's used as a kind of sense check, and it actually takes about a day to fill it in. Obviously, you know, this is not to full scale, you have to make it bigger. But it takes about a day to fill this in effectively, and when you've done it, it can actually trigger a huge amount of the activities you need to run a business. It is a great tool in the entrepreneur's toolkit, and you haven't seen it, it's well worth Googling, and there's books on it and so on. Great stuff. But I think you can save yourself even more time than that. Here you do the customer segments, you do value propositions, then you start thinking about who will help you make your product and all that sort of stuff, and then how much it will cost to make it, how you make money. Simple stuff, but very often not thought about by startups. Here are the 6 letters. So all you've got to do is remember this easy to remember acronym. Okay, so they stand for customer, obvious stuff. Who is the exact customer? Not some sort of general view of like people who are 30. No, who is the actual person? You've got to be able to picture them, find them in the street, who's going to buy your product, okay? So narrow them down. So people who lose their wallet every 3 months, that would be a good start, wouldn't it, for the wallet one? You know, people who've got loads and loads of money and don't want it, that would be a good one for Tidal. Problem, what is the specific problem that they have in their life, and this is obviously relevant to this topic, what's the specific problem that they have in life that you're going to solve, and be really, really, really specific about it, and then ask yourself this question, is it really a problem? Do they feel it? Do they wake up in the morning and go, oh God, you know, that is a problem for me? Or is it the sort of thing that if you invite them into a focus group and give them 50 quid and a glass of white wine, they're going to say, okay, yes, that's a problem. Solution, that's easy. What's your solution to their problem? This is where we get tricky. Alternatives. How do they solve that problem today? Or is it completely unsolved, right? What is the way that they currently solve that problem, and what other ways could they solve that problem? Advantages. Why is your solution better than the alternatives, what they're doing today? You know, be hard on yourself. And then finally, and again, often forgotten, return. i.e., if you were to make it, and this doesn't have to be the first one, as it would be in Experian, but what is the return that you will make? It can't be nothing, right? Because otherwise, you know, now you're in your kind of free ice cream stall world. Of course it'll be popular, but it won't last very long. You've got to have some kind of way of making a return on the investment. So, there's a few problems here, obviously. Do we think there are really consumers out there who do these two things? Lose their wallet all the time, and B, think they're going to lose their wallet next time? Probably not, right? Most people who lose their wallet probably are daft enough to think it's never going to happen again.
And not lose their wallet and not lose their phone.
Exactly, yeah. Or not turn the feature off because it becomes so annoying when you're at home, and then never turn it back on and then lose both their wallet and the card that costs $100 that's in the wallet, and so on, yeah. So do the people who lose their wallet actually, are they the sort of people that buy products to stop you losing your wallet? right? That's a bit of a problem. But the biggest problem is, what is the alternative to this card? The alternative is do nothing. And the alternative to most things is nothing, right? That's your problem. You're not competing with someone in Silicon Valley, you're competing with nothing, right? And is this better than nothing? No, it costs $99 more than nothing, right? It's a lot worse than nothing. Okay. And again, so this is, again, the Tidal, the music download. Where is the advantage? Children do not care about the bit rate of their MP3s, and they are certainly not interested in who profits from them, hence the fact that one of the most popular uses of YouTube is to nick the lowest quality music there is and play it as a jukebox, right? People are not interested. The people who buy these artist records, I would say, and the stats so far have borne this out, do not care to pay more money to give more of it to Madonna. Okay, so it's kind of funny to take things to pieces, especially after they've already failed, because it's safer. You're not going to be proven wrong. The other thing that comes out of this process, out of customer problem solution alternatives, is it really makes you focus in, and this is really the point of the business model canvas, on what assumptions you're making. Because what we often see is that people get so carried away by how much they're in love with their idea that they take it into development with a whole bunch of assumptions. And when I say assumptions, I mean the assumption that there are people out there that lose their wallets a lot, right? You can actually you can find that out. You know, how often does the average person lose their wallet? Once every 5 years? Whatever. But then you move on to your next level of assumption. These people would be interested in your product. And a lot of those assumptions are really, really simple. You can just test them. You can find out by trying them, often for very, very little money, whether they will work or not, whether customers will really benefit from them. And this is, of course, the kind of lean startup view of the world. So very quickly, and somewhat painfully. So this is a genius invention of my own. I don't know if anyone can guess what it does. It's his first public outing, actually. I'm quite proud.
Check the radiator temperature.
No, well, inadvertently when it breaks, but yes, it's the idea behind this. That is the radiator in my house, and in front of that radiator is the front door to my house. This little plastic box, which is like that, tells me the top line is how many minutes until the next bus going left, and the bottom line is how many minutes the next bus going right, okay? And it flashes when it's time to run to the bus. And I use it every day. It's fantastic, right? It's a great invention. The idea behind this was a kind of design competition we had at an agency where I worked to come up with physical apps. So things you do on your mobile phone, but it's annoying. The last thing you want to do when you're running around trying to get on a bus is get your phone out, because then you're going to be even later for the bus. You'll watch it sail past as you go out the door. So the idea is this would just sit there all day long and tell you that you're going to miss the bus, okay? Oh, I love it. And as I say, I use it every day. And I was capable of whipping up a certain amount of enthusiasm in the office for it as well. And so we built it for a start to see whether it would actually be useful to have. So we actually built one. We built it in like 2 days, and it works. It's fine, it's good. And then we got lucky, because we put it on Indiegogo, not really because we thought we were going to fund it, but we wanted to find out how many other, Indiegogo is a crowdfunding site like Kickstarter. We wanted to find out how many other people wanted to buy this. I assume there must be another bunch of middle-aged geeky men who had sufficient cash, you know, if they weren't spending it on Safety Dome, whatever it's called, to spend it on this. And we got on Indiegogo, and we got no one funding it there. And then we got really lucky, because Stuff, unbeknownst to me, the magazine Stuff, which is the target market, 30-year-old geeky men and plus, picks up innovation straight out of Indiegogo, because they're trying to fill column inches, and they stuck my baby on their website and in their magazine, and we sold one of them. So anyway, the moral of the story being, we could have spent a lot of money. I mean, we were, you know, there was ideas. We'll go to China. Let's go to China and talk to a bloke, you know, a guy. He's going to make it. It'll be fine. Okay, it's very easy to make a prototype. Very hard to make a production hardware device if you ever try it. And we didn't. And we saved ourselves, I think, probably a year of our lives and a lot of pain, which is what the people with the card should have done as well, and all of the people. And is the Apple Watch in that category? I think it is a bit early to. I think it is a bit early to say. And I'm sure they've got enough money to turn it into something useful if they want to. But it does fit that it does fit that need. Do people really have a problem that getting their phone out of their pocket is too hard? You know? I'm not sure they do, but you know, I'm sure Tim Cook will come up with another reason for having it. And yeah, and I promised to plug the book, so there's a picture of the book. Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.